Hey, it's time for Streaming Idiots with your chief idiot, Tom Sinclair. Going to be an interesting show today. We're gonna preview. No, what do you call it? We're gonna pre-review Wirecast 6 to be introduced later this year. Hang around. Hey there, Tom Sinclair here. Streaming Idiots, your head idiot. Definitely, if you're watching live and you saw our first segment, you know that that is no lie. And if you want to go back and watch it, it's that VidBlaster Guy for September 10th would be the show, and you can see what an idiot I am live and in color. Hey, we talk about all things streaming here on Streaming Idiots. We talk about software, we talk about hardware. I've got some guests lined up for the future that I think will be really interesting to you as to how they do streaming. Once we get that firmed up, I'll let you know who it is. But the big news out there today, and in fact it was just announced officially last week. It had been hinted at for a while, but the folks at Telestream, the ones that have made the Wirecast streaming software, are announcing that Wirecast, a new version 6, will be out soon. It's actually being introduced in beta at IBC this week and will be available for purchase or upgrade at some point in November. Now, according to Barbara DeHart, who is the Vice President of Desktop Sales at Telestream, that this Wirecast is the most ambitious release yet. Well, that's quite a statement, because Wirecast has really begun to stretch itself. I was talking with a Wirecast insider a while back, and he said, yeah, you can really thank VidBlaster for the fact that Wirecast is really pushing forward, because VidBlaster came out with some new features that Wirecast didn't have, and suddenly the Wirecast folks started getting a little I won't say upset, but maybe concerned that they might lose some market share. So they have been doing some things in Wirecast 5, which I know folks have enjoyed, that incorporated the X.264 encoding protocols, and have now gotten Wirecast 6 warming up in the bullpen. Well, what's going to be so ambitious about Wirecast 6? What could it be? Is it something that vMix already has? Is it something that VidBlaster already has? Is that how Wirecast is going to be ambitious? Well, the proof will be in the pudding, obviously. We can announce features and say, oh, we've got this great new feature, but if the feature is difficult to operate or requires, extensive, exotic hardware or ancillary software, then maybe the feature's not real great. But let's just make the assumption that Wirecast has watched carefully what's going on in the market and has said, okay, we can't just do this as well as our competitors. We have to do it better. And there are, I guess, 4 main new features that Wirecast has got. Probably, and I won't call this a feature, but probably the big earth-moving aspect of this release is that Wirecast 6 actually goes to 64-bit. And I think that's going to mean a lot to a lot of people. That's going to allow your RAM to extend further. It's going to allow your software to operate more smoothly and faster, and take more advantage of the hardware that you've got there. But that'll be one of those kind of things like, you've added something to your car that's supposed to give you more horsepower, and so now you've got to go out there and press the accelerator hard and see if you can feel it. So people will be looking to see if they can feel. Boy, how's that for a sentence? They will be looking to see if they can feel any kind of seat-of-the-pants difference in Wirecast and how it operates because of this 64-bit upgrade. The other things, and as a sports aficionado, This one caught my eye, and in fact was listed first in the press release, which probably means Wirecast expects it to make the biggest bang for the buck. But that Wirecast, at long last, Wirecast users have been asking Telestream this for years. At long last, Wirecast will be incorporating true instant replay video, and that is going to be a big deal. According to the release, it will have the ability to be slow motion. It will have the ability, not that you would choose to do it, but it could be fast motion. That it would have scrubbing capabilities, which I think may mean that there may be some opportunities for folks to develop some controls, some separate hardware controls that will include that little scrubby wheelie thing. Or there may be people that already have those controls out there. We'll make sure that theirs will work with Wirecast through the API, as it will. And this will really help the folks. Wirecast, I think, has tried to get into the sports market without really understanding the sports market. And the effort that they made with their scoreboard that tied into this central scoreboard somewhere and had a subscription where you could pull in scores from other places, that might work if you were a AAA affiliate and you had a lot of money to spend. But for a high school team, that's not going to work because there's no benefit to it. But with the implementation of slow motion instant replay, this is really going to be good. And my understanding is that you will be able to save clips, and I haven't seen it yet. Now, whether save clips means that you can actually save the clips to disk and give them a name so that they become a file, a video file that you can pull back up later, or whether they're just sort of saved to a playlist and that you can play the playlist at a later date, but within the same broadcast. And again, it's going to be kind of interesting to see whether whether Wirecast implements this as a series of files that are saved, or rather as they're going to save the entire broadcast, and then they're just going to have certain segments of it that are sort of marked with in and out points, and you can go back to that, and that will determine, from a hardware standpoint, whether you need to add additional hard drives or solid state drives to back all this stuff up, or whether it can be done with the setup that you already have. The other thing that is going to be implemented in this edition of Wirecast is a playlist. And this would be akin probably to VidBlaster's, probably not VidBlaster's old playlist, but probably to its more recent beta version of a playout controller. And this would allow you to drag and drop video files, audio files, still images, and live shots to a playlist, and that you could add commercial breaks into this playlist. And so that you could basically automate a studio, whether it would be completely rebroadcasted videos with ads interspersed in those, or whether it would be something that would be done live. And apparently this playlist also will have an ancillary feature where it can be set up to rotate live camera views. So if you are broadcasting, let's say you're broadcasting a concert and you've got 4 different cameras, rather than having to have an operator that sits there and switches from camera to camera, you can put it on remote and it will automatically switch from cam to cam. I suspect they'll have some sort of predetermined amount of time that you could set up for cameras. It will be interesting to see if you can set each camera for its own predetermined amount of time, or whether it's just simply 4 seconds between each camera shot. Currently, I know in VidBlaster, I'm not that familiar with vMix yet for this, but I know in VidBlaster you can set the switcher to automatically switch every X number of seconds, and then choose which cameras or videos or still images that you want to switch to. So 2 different ways of accomplishing the same purpose, and that's great. I think that's going to be a big plus for the Wirecast users, especially for folks that that are trying to do some sort of 24-hour streaming now, and they're having to use some workarounds to do that, to you know, a place to kind of host the videos while they're queued up and waiting to be broadcast. So it will be interesting to see that and exactly how that is implemented. The third feature that I think is going to be really interesting, and this is a feature that Wirecast has sort of copied from vMix, is the ability to have user-generated content. And I say copied from vMix, that's not fair to say. Really, only portions of it are copied from vMix. vMix has got the new social media ancillary software that's free, that allows you to incorporate Facebook posts and Twitter feed and I think one or two other sources of user content into your broadcast. Wirecast will do the same thing. It'll come in as an overlay. You can select the ones that you want to have go live. And I'll tell you, from somebody that does a one-man broadcast, that feature, as cool as it may sound, will probably be impossible to implement in a live situation if you're the only one doing it. It's going to take a second operator somewhere, and it'll be interesting to see whether that second operator has to be in the same room at the same PC, or whether they can be somewhere else on the same network, or whether they can be somewhere else in the world and be screening you know, Twitter comments and posting them as you know, a stream across the bottom. The other thing that Wirecast says is going to be part of their user-generated content, in addition to Twitter, will be iOS device. Now, whether that means iOS device video or audio, don't know. It was kind of left a little open. I'll have to do some more research on that. And it may be that somebody that's beta testing 6 can answer that question for me. But nevertheless, if it is video, and suddenly an iOS device can now be used as a remote camera in Wirecast, I think that's going to be huge. I can think of situations where you know, we have this great concert near here in Gulf Shores, Alabama, every year called Bayfest, and Bayfest has live streaming of all the acts, and they'll have, you know, I don't know, you know, there might be 6 or 8 stages at different places on the beach. And of course, each stage that's going to be broadcast has to have its own production crew and cameras and whatever else. But if you know, you could pick up a concert goer's video feed from their iPhone, where they're just holding up their iPhone because they're on the front row and they're going to show that the lead singer. Something like that might be pretty cool. Obviously, it's going to depend on bandwidth. It's going to depend on video resolution and some other things as to exactly how well it works. But we will have a look at it and see. And, you know, it could solve a lot of problems. And it could be kind of a breakthrough kind of new feature in live streaming software, is the ability to integrate into the software an iOS feed that doesn't require a lot of coding or understanding. It basically, you just, you know, put in a phone number or something like that, and suddenly you've got the ability to get their video. And who knows, it may be an app that has to reside on the phone. It will be interesting to see how that works out. The fourth feature, and this is an optional feature for extra money, is something called the NewBlue TX Titler Pro. Let me start that one again. NewBlue TX Titler Pro plugin. I'm not going to try to say that 3 times fast. And they didn't give a price for it, but basically it will be a titling software with the ability to create infinite number of styles of lower thirds. It will have templates for all that kind of stuff. And so if you're doing a lot of production work, something like this will be a tremendous benefit. It plugs right into Wirecast, so it's available from within Wirecast, which means you can create titles on the go, which to some degree Wirecast can do already, but I think their library is a little limited and probably is more akin to what's going on with vMix, where they have a pretty extensive library, including animated titles, text tickers, those kind of things. Yeah, I'm being corrected in the chat room. It's not NewBlue TX, it's NewBlue FX. That makes more sense. Can't read my own handwriting here. NewBlue FX Titler Pro plug-in. There we go. Got it. Other little, and I would say these were probably incremental or smaller features that would be important to folks that were experienced Wirecast users is, Wirecast includes a certain number of keyboard shortcuts that they're expanding that library of keyboard shortcuts so that you can have more control over it from your keyboard as a work surface. And it was interesting, as you read through the press release, one of the things that was included in the release, and you kind of have to wonder sometimes why certain things get included, but one of the things included in the release was that Wirecast will now have the ability with its recordings to save a recording in the event of a crash. I'm assuming it's a software crash, not a hardware crash, so that video file is recoverable up until the point of the crash. And I think, number one, hey, that's great. I mean, anytime you can have that kind of backup protection, so at least you're okay as long as the software is functioning, that's good. But it also is one of those things like, okay, they're fixing a problem. How extensive is the problem? Has Wirecast had a lot of problems with this, and therefore their workaround is, at least until they can figure out why the software is crashing all the time, their workaround is to make sure at least you don't lose data, you don't lose video in the event that it does crash, because some events are they're unique, they're non-repeatable, especially if we were talking about the broadcast, for example, of a wedding. That's a non-repeatable event. When the groom says "I do," you want to make sure you got that on video. Yes, sir. Anyway, but I think that's in all that's going to be a good plus feature, and I think Wirecast is going to be well served by having that feature in there. From what I can tell, if you own a Wirecast 5 license, you can upgrade your Pro Edition for $249, and you can upgrade your Studio Edition for $149. I think I'm right on that. If you have Wirecast 4, they haven't announced this officially yet, but I got an email from Telestream earlier this week. If you have Wirecast 4 and you want to upgrade to 6, that is skip 5, it's going to cost you a little bit more. If you've got the Studio Edition, it won't be $149, it'll be $199. And if you've got the Pro Edition, it won't be $249, it will be something else. Whether that's $299 or $349, I haven't heard yet. I think the tech support person that I was talking to by email may have misunderstood my question, so I got sort of partial information there. But nevertheless, it looks like the Wirecast 6 is going to be a worthy upgrade for those of you that are bona fide Wirecast users. I think you will love some of the new changes and some of the improvements, and I'm sure there's a long list of minor improvements that only real Wirecast users would appreciate. But if you're looking at this sort of streaming software and trying to figure out, of the big three, VidBlaster, Wirecast, and vMix, which do I want to go with? This is a good opportunity to take a good close look at Wirecast. I think Wirecast has a trial. Well, I don't think. I know Wirecast has a trial edition that you can download and test. Unfortunately, you can't really test it in a live situation because it has a logo that sits in the middle of the screen. And at least the last time I tried their trial edition, it had a voice that came on periodically that said, this is Wirecast. So that obviously wouldn't work in any kind of live demo. If you want a live demo of VidBlaster, you download the trial, and there's a little watermark up in the corner. If you want to demo the vMix software, there's actually a free version, which I understand has an unlimited license and is not even watermarked. It is limited to standard definition, and it is limited to the number of inputs that you can use and the number of overlays that you can use. But it does give you an opportunity to experience how the software works, and at least within some limitation, understand how it might work on your PC. Since it doesn't do any higher than standard definition, you really won't be able to test its high definition functions. Although vMix does have, I think, a 60-day trial for their top level software, so you would have 60 days to experiment with it in the high definition field. And then the VidBlaster trial, of course, is unlimited, as is the Wirecast trial. Let's see. I think I've about covered all my Wirecast 6 stuff for this show. We at Eastern Shore Studios are in the process of being approved, at least we hope, as a Wirecast reseller. So we will be able to supply you with that in the future. We're currently authorized to resell both VidBlaster and vMix. And if you go to our website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, we've begun to put our store up there so that you can see what's available there. We also have, and we'll be adding to it frequently, a streaming accessories part in the store that will give accessories that we have either personally tested or have on very, very good recommendation from folks that are successful products. One of the questions I get asked all the time by folks that are just starting out, I bought an easy cap off eBay. I wish I had $1 for every time I got that email. And it doesn't work. Well, we have the easy cap in our store that you can purchase there that is the one that works every time. And in fact, I've had as many as 3 of them at a time working on the same PC. So that's the kind of stuff that you will find there in the store at Eastern Shore Broadcasting. And if you happen to be watching this show locally in the Gulf Coast area of Alabama, we will be rolling out here before too long bricks and mortar opportunity for you to put your show on the internet. And you can contact me, Tom Sinclair, at streamingidiots.com or Tom at easternshorebroadcasting.com. And I can give you some more information about that as that becomes available. Well, I think that about wraps up the show today. This has been a pre-review of Wirecast 6. And as soon as Wirecast 6 is available, I will get a copy of it and do everything that I know how to do with Wirecast and let you know. I'm very interested to see what the instant replay looks like, whether that's a bona fide offering in that area or whether it's sort of a makeshift offering in that area to try to at least put a feature on the feature list. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that they've taken their time and that they've really gotten into it and really understood from people that use it every day how it needs to work, so that, number one, so that the switchover and the retraining can be as minimal as possible, because being a instant replay operator is a skill. You can teach anybody how to switch cameras in Wirecast or vMix or VidBlaster in 5 or 10 minutes. But to show folks how to do instant replay and be successful and polished at it takes a lot of practice, and as much of the industry standard features can be incorporated into Wirecast 6 instant replay, I think will help make it more acceptable and could pop it back up to the top of the list in terms of people's choices so far as sports streaming software is concerned. And I think the playlist feature will certainly be a big deal. The user-generated content feature, especially if it incorporates the video from an iOS device easily, will be a huge deal, could very well be a game changer. And certainly for existing Wirecast users to move up to 64-bit, that's going to be worth its weight. in gold, I think. Let's see what else here. I think that's about got it. Anybody in the chat room's got a comment? Martin K mentions that NewBlue FX has a range of plugins that can be used in various NLE apps, not just Wirecast. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate that. And RJ, thank you for correcting me on the NewBlue FX Titler Pro. Very good. So that brings us to the end of our time together. I appreciate you tuning in. If you're tuning in live, we'll have a little post show here. John Hughes has brought cake and cookies for everybody. And we will see you next week. If you're looking for this show on YouTube, we release them on Fridays. Streaming Idiots on Fridays, that VidBlaster Guy on Wednesdays. Trying to give you something out there to make the tail end of your week more enjoyable. If I can help you with any questions about software, about hardware, if you're interested in having a custom streaming PC built, we can certainly help with that too. Tom at streamingidiots.com. Until next week, I'm Tom Sinclair, kind of your chief streaming idiot, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.